did it, G. That was your first and hopefully last nab and grab. They're unharmed and in one piece, I see. I gather from the cursing and yelling that you didn't gag them before you put the bag over their head. God forbid we have to do this again, but if we do, we should invest in gags or some sort of knockout gas. Make a note of that. All right. I get this is very shocking for you, but I'd really appreciate it if you... You're not the governor's kid. Giacomo, this is not the governor's kid we were trying to ransom. Who the fuck is this? Excuse me just a second, doll. This is the picture I showed you from last week's newspaper. Look at it next to this civilian you've got tangled up in our business. They look nothing alike. How did you possibly mix them up? But what's the point of us giving you a health plan, including vision, if you're not going to use it? You're taking the day off to go to the optometrist, boss's orders, before your nearsightedness gets you and me killed. All right. How are we going to take care of you? No, we're not going to kill you. I don't know what sort of Godfather-esque dark romance stuff you've been reading or watching, but organized crime is a fairly tidy process nowadays. Making people sleep with the fishes is costly and messy. Me and mine almost exclusively work in money laundering and counterfeiting, that's it. This, admittedly, is a bit of a special case. See, our local governor, running for re-election based on his staunch Christian family values. Yes, the one with the ill-fitting suits. I'm always saying that. The man doesn't know how to dress. You know what he does know how to do? Woo his way into sweet, unsuspecting women's hearts and beds without telling them he's married. Sweet, unsuspecting women like my widowed Auntie Nina, who thought she was getting a second chance at love and got nothing but an NDA and a frankly insulting amount of hush money. I fucking know, right? So, you see, this is why this is a special case. Why we had to make this personal and see how he likes people he loves not being treated like they deserve. I mean, I would rather we tried to. Where did we go wrong here, by the way? Giacomo, where were you that you managed to pick up a stray instead of doing your job? That's right. The schmuck had an event at the library. Shaking hands, kissing babies, no doubt being a worse model and reader than the drag queens he hates. I thought it was closed to the public. That's why we planned the kidnapping then. Are you on his campaign team, doll? Because I hate to break it to you, your boss is a fucking asshole. You're a librarian. You kidnapped a librarian. You're fucking killing me, man. What are you gonna do next? Roll a nurse and kick us down to a lower circle of hellfire and brimstone? Do me a favor and go out and start the car, please, so we can try and get some good karma back. Sorry about all this. Let's get you untied out of this stinking warehouse and back home. Of course, we're gonna take you home, doll, safe and sound. You've suffered enough because of me and my cousin out there, and keeping you quiet the old-fashioned way wouldn't benefit us at all. Like I said, I like my crimes like I like my money. Untraceable and unbloodied. Hand to God. Besides, I'm a mobster, not a monster. Libraries are an important part of the community, and I appreciate people like you who keep them running as best you can. I might even want to stop by and say hello, if that's all right with you. Because I think you're interesting. I'll grant you, it's partly because I'd rather you not snitch to the feds, but mostly it's because I'd like to see you again. In the past 2 hours, you've had a sack thrown over your head, been manhandled into a van, strapped to a chair, and left to stew in fear in a cold, dank warehouse of God knows what. In those 2 hours, you haven't lost your cool or nerve even once. You didn't cry, beg, scream. You did curse me out, called me words I won't repeat in your polite company, and did a real number on my associate, if him limping out of here is any indicator. I can't say I meet someone like you often, even in my line of work. You're giving me, a seasoned criminal, terms and conditions. Oh, I like you. All right, doll. I'll bite. I'm invested. What must I do if I want to come see you at work? No more illegal activities on library grounds. That's a fair enough ask. What's the second thing? Oh, it goes without saying that I'll be the one driving you home. I love G, I do. But I wouldn't trust him to navigate us out of a paper bag at this point. I wasn't aware shelving books required so much standing and reading. Is this how my tax dollars are being used? I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to startle you while you were so busy. But I thought it would look worse if I just stood there any longer without saying anything. I have to say, too, it's no surprise that we nabbed you at work if this is how intense you get when you read. I could have opened fire and you wouldn't have batted a pretty eye. Not that I'd ever, of course. Yes, no illegal activities, Giacomo, or yelling, or I'm out. Understood. Speaking of, G has asked me to mention that he'd like to come by and apologize for himself sometime, if you'd allow. He's embarrassed and would like to show you his new glasses and bring you some sort of restitution. He's been considering something like flowers or an edible arrangement, but I think you could really leverage a generous donation to the library out of him if you make him wait for it. Oh, that's not the only reason I'm here. Maybe I want to see my favorite librarian. Maybe I want to partake in normal, upstanding citizen activities like paying overdue book fees, reading. Nah, sure I am. In fact, maybe I've been looking for just the book you're about to shelve. May I? I've been wanting something to really jump into on a relaxing day with a blanket and a coffee. And what better chance to start reading? Knotted by the Alpha. You can't tell me to quiet down. You're laughing too. I walked right into that, I'll admit. Here, take your smut back. I won't be checking that out today. Maybe another time. The library is so much less stuffy and uptight than I'd imagined. I thought you might be shushing people constantly to maintain the peace and sanctity of the space, but it's actually so we can just focus on the Omegaverse. Yes, you are. Doll, you literally just shushed me. I'm not sure I believe you, honestly. What would you do all day if not shushing people and being the object of schoolboy fantasies? And getting hauled into cars without your permission? Sorry about that again, by the way. Hey, now, I'm not keeping you from doing your job. I wouldn't dream of it. I'm fairly sure if I did anything of the sort, you'd go after me in my ankles with your little book cart, and I am not confident that's a fight I'd win. I'm just curious, observing, making conversation, watching a master at work. You know what? You're right. I should be working. In fact, I should check in with my manager and give them a call. Excuse me a second. Hey, boss. Do I have anything pressing on the agenda? No, in fact, take the whole day for yourself, my beloved and perfect employee. You've earned it. Well, if you say so. Who am I to argue? I'll see you tomorrow by the water cooler, then. It would seem I'm free for the day. Well, when you're as good as I am, you get to be the boss young. Also, my mom wanted to retire young alongside my Auntie Nina, so who was I to deny the women who raised me? She's doing good, thank you for asking. I won't say what we may or may not have done to cheer her up, but I'm pleased to say that it worked and raised her spirits. I will let you know that it involved sending her to Vegas on a girls' trip out. I'll let her know that you asked after her when she gets back. Oh, it's Caesar's Entertainment that should worry about not making their bottom line, not me. Despite her terrible instincts with men, my auntie is a monster at roulette, and my mom can count cards better than a machine. Granted, they'll probably spend all their winnings on Prosecco and scantily clad men, but at the very worst, they'll break even. If not, I'll figure it out. I'll pivot. Maybe I'll consider a career change and become a librarian. Would you put in a good word for me, doll? What? I love books and giving back to my community. Isn't that what's important? What else could I need? Okay, I hear what you're saying about a master's degree in library science, but what if, instead, I brought my winning smile? I could be your personality hire. You don't sound too convinced. Maybe you could tell me more about these job requirements later, over lunch. Because Giacomo's not the only one who'd like to apologize. And in my opinion, there's no gesture quite as appropriate, heartfelt, and sincere as a home-cooked meal. Doll, if I wanted to keep you quiet or take you out on anything but a date, this is not how I'd go about doing it. Why would I escort you home and meet you publicly at your place of work if I wanted you to disappear? Not to mention poison. Really. It's an ineffectual, unreliable weapon. So slow-acting and difficult to dose properly, too. Besides, most poisons are horribly bitter and would ruin what I cooked. I would never disrespect food that way. I'd say it is, given I'm the one who made it, but you'll have to find out for yourself. When's your lunch break? Oh no, I'll have to wait a whole hour. What will I ever do to keep myself entertained amongst this vast collection of human knowledge and imagination? Do what you gotta do. I've got a cooler, patience, and a fictional alpha to get intimately acquainted with. I can wait.